All right, welcome everyone. My name is Vikas and I'm one of the marketing managers. First of all, thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar. Well, as for the registration notes, along with me, I have Dibakar Ghosh, Director of SAG, and who will be running quickly through the corporate portfolio. And we have Praveen Changani, Technology Solutions Director, who will deep dive into the key benefits, its features, and how to model your processes and then optimize your businesses using ARIS and so now, before I pass it to Dibakar, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions during the session on the control panel, please drop in your questions, and I'll bring it up at the end of the session. And also, let me update you that we have this webinar getting recorded, and the webinar recording will be available right after the 24 to 48 hours of the session. So without ado, let me just pass down this to Dibakar. Dibakar and Praveen, we have beautiful audience right over there, and I'm sure they are excited to learn more things from today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas. This is Dibakar, gentlemen and ladies. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on wherever you are. I would not take much of your time and come straight to the point. So I will start with Kellton Tech's introduction, and Praveen would take it from there. Kellton Tech has been servicing software AG community since 1997. We are one of the most trusted and sought after partners for software AG products, with over 250 successful implementations throughout USA and Canada. Kellton Tech's Digital Connected Enterprise is a leader in enterprise-level integration, API management, and multi-speed IT strategy. We are leveraging software AG's digital business platform with the ability to design your digital transformation strategy, align your IT portfolio accordingly, digitize your processes, integrate the diverse systems across your enterprise, provide insight in real time so you can take actions faster and improve your customer satisfaction. Kellton Tech provides innovative solutions, strategic directions, and technology expertise in software AG's digital business platform for business and IT transformation, analytics and decisions, agile processes, enterprise and business-to-business integration, in-memory solutions, and cloud enablement. With our flexible engagement model, Kellton Tech can help you in complete implementation of software AG's digital business platform. We also offer niche services like enterprise service bus reference architecture, proof of value, proof of concept implementations, customized and tailored workshops, application development, maintenance and production support, infrastructure modernization and upgrade services, managed services, and staff augmentation. Last but not the least, I wanted to draw your attention regarding the event that is coming up for Chicago on September 14th and 15th. The venue is Hyatt Regency, Illinois, in Chicago. Kellton Tech is proud to be platinum sponsor of Software AG's Innovation Tour 2017. We are excited to join Software AG in taking lead in embracing innovation in the industry. I would definitely like you guys to come to the event. We would like to host you there. This is an event and great opportunity to network with the experts and meet us. We will have a lot of industry experts as well. Connect with us, and we will help you step forward in transforming your business anytime, anywhere. Over to you, Praveen.
Thank you, Dibakar and Vikas. Hello, everyone. My name is Praveen Changani. I'm a Technology Solutions Director in the Digital Connected Enterprise Division at Kellton Tech. I want to thank you in advance for taking the time to join our webinar today. Today's objective is really to talk a little bit about ARIS Architect and Designer, particularly what's involved in business process, in building business process models, and taking your business really to the next level in terms of digitizing it and what's involved from a methodology point of view. So we will talk about ARIS being not just a product, but a methodology as well as a framework. So let's get right to it. So this slide essentially talks about the various divisions that Kellton Tech has. We are essentially one big team, but 3 divisions and business units that work together closely. The Digital Transformation Business Unit, the Digital Connected Enterprise Business Unit, and the Enterprise Solutions Business Unit. All of the business units identified on this slide have various functions. Today's webinar is being sponsored by the Digital Connected Enterprise, which is the business unit from the middle, in the middle of the slide. And this business unit and its core functions are concerned with offering best-in-class integration solutions to our customers on their path to a successful digital transformation. So our solutions may range from helping to modernize an existing IT system or building digital strategies for the future using the latest advances in technology in process architecture, BPM, blockchain, cloud, DevOps, services-oriented architecture, enterprise service bus, mobile, B2B, managed file transfer, analytics, AI, and IoT. This is the core portfolio that we offer to our customers from the DCE enterprise solutions. We engage our customers in terms of digital transformation, enterprise architecture strategy, and look to earn your trust, starting from the advisory stage, but then also work with you at various levels of requirements, development, the build, the implementation, and the support aspects. So I'm not going to read through all of the bullet points here, but basically, as you can see in our offering, we offer multiple core strengths and capabilities in various areas such as APIs and services-oriented architecture, BPM solutions, rules, analytics, distributed in-memory data solutions, or high throughput such as Terracotta, real-time streaming analytics using Apama, SaaS integration, cloud enablement, and hybrid infrastructure service, all of which subscribe to Software AG's digital business platform and the product offerings that are available there. We also offer infrastructure modernization, continuous integration, and DevOps services, as well as annual maintenance service and support agreements. This is the partial list of our customers by industry. As Dibakar mentioned, we are a premier level Software AG partner and have been since 1997. So we have some very prestigious customers that are listed here, some of which may include American Electric Power, Duke Energy, so on and so forth. Kellton Tech has been servicing Software AG community since 1997, with over 300 successful implementations throughout USA and Canada, and we are the most trusted and sought-after partner for Software AG products and service delivery. This is a list of our core capabilities when it comes to ARIS, web methods, universal messaging, agile apps. We invest in non-revenue generating labs and what we call innovation hubs, where we are able to provide services to our customers that involve building and establishing a BPM center of excellence, process modeling, architecture, system orchestration, task and workflow optimization with BPM, as well as monitoring and process analysis for improvement, business activity monitoring, and KPI analytics. Okay, now that we have some of that housekeeping out of the way, I would like to start by why this is such an important topic for us to discuss. But we'll start with some questions that sometimes businesses and organizations ask themselves. And they ask themselves questions like, is it easy to do business in your respective organization? Do your employees feel empowered to meet your customers' needs? Do you have enough visibility into your process and tasks, and do you have enough monitoring capabilities, things of that sort? These are questions that you're probably grappling with as you face a perpetually changing business environment. You strive for operational excellence and need ways to effectively acquire and retain new customers. But you also need to reinvent your business operations to foster growth. And what we are seeing is that customers are no longer passive in their quest to receive service and buy products. They expect 5-star treatment, and if they don't get it, they tend to search for alternatives. So this means that you need to create positive touch points on every interaction with your customers while holding down cost and growing your top-line revenue. So having a good process architecture and practice in place, is a way to deal with those operational challenges that you tend to face in a business climate. And having a smart helps you build mobile analytics collaboration to empower your employees to do their best work. It also empowers you as a leader to find the right tools and solutions, and that's where ARIS comes in. To continue to grow, companies must seek out new market niches to expand into. The opportunity starts with a flexible business design and then the ability to reinvent business operations. Whether it's a claims process or a loan origination process, many considerations go into creating new business models every day. From rate changes into existing loan tables to adding new providers into a claim service. Those are just some common, simple examples of where you have to adapt your applications and your systems in order to cope with the changes that the business is going through. So the need to build and manage your digital future. Some of the common pain points we see without having this approach is we see unstructured tasks, inefficient working spans and systems, inconsistent prioritization, incomplete or inaccurate data flow between systems, lack of control over systems and business events or exceptions, and poor visibility into process performance. So these are some typical, and if you look at this picture, you'll notice that there may be a number of systems involved behind the scenes, such as a billing system, an ERP system, an imaging system, or a CRM system, and you have multiple roles and different teams that have to work together, but it's in most instances, it's very ad hoc if you don't have a well-defined process. So ARIS, where ARIS comes in, is that ARIS, first off, stands for Architecture of Integrated Information Systems. ARIS is in a methodology framework as well as a product suite. So my next slide will show you a difference between this slide and the future state. So notice the difference between the former slide and this slide is that we now have an extra layer in between your actors in your business as well as your systems, and you have a process that is now being defined, it's being orchestrated, and it's being managed and automated in many instances. So some of what defining the process model does is it brings and optimizing the process, it brings some order to that day-to-day chaos that we all tend to experience every now and then. So some of the benefits of that include automating a workflow, decision-making, reduction in errors, standardization and resolution across multiple geos, leveraging existing systems and data, monitoring for business events, real-time visibility, and process control. And the benefits to the customer are, a huge reduction in manual work. So this idea that Bob walks over to Mary and says, "Hey, I don't know how to complete this. Is there some documentation on this?" Or I'm still waiting for something from you. So that a reduction in manual work, faster, more consistent issue resolution, and easier to manage the business process, and more consistent case handling. So those are some of the benefits. So why ARIS? So ARIS is actually it's the modular solution, from Software AG in an environment for process optimization with a strong focus on collaboration. The solution is designed to make processes transparent, agile, easy to control and use, and it fosters a kind of collaboration between business departments and IT departments with the functions and modules they need to optimize their tasks on an ongoing basis. And doing all of this while ensuring that compliance with regulations is in check. So ARIS includes support to help enterprises meet internal and external requirements and comply with legal provisions and standards, as well as offering risk management for processes. So ARIS Architect and Designer is a solution for developing, analyzing, and controlling the entire business model, from strategy through business process to IT architecture, as well as application landscape and services. And that's where it is. ARIS is a phenomenal product in how it is positioned towards enabling, your organization to be successful in its digital transformation. So it is not just a document and design tool, which I think sometimes is the misconception. It offers a very sophisticated set of processes, both documentation, but also your data, your enterprise architecture, products and services, risk, risk analysis, and multiple layers that go into that process. Because I think we all understand that businesses run on processes, but to take that a step further, those business processes are run by people, and so people need to be involved, and people could mean your organization, your roles, your staff, teams that are involved, and people come and go in an organization. Roles tend to change, but an organization is an essential part of building a process model, and we'll talk a little bit about more about that. That from a technology side, so is data. Data is essential in terms of where it's coming from, who are the customers, who are the owners of that data, what needs to be done in terms of either transforming that data or passing it to the next step in the process. So unlike some of the other process modeling tools, ARIS shows a tremendous strength and leadership in this segment by showcasing a methodology that involves the organization, the data, the function or the application, as well as the product services which tie into your business process. The ARIS method house is a key pillar. This is what I was just referring to about a second ago. This house refers to kind of the breakdown of how the methodology is, it works towards solving various business problems. So who does, if you look at the organization level, the roof of the house, if you will, that's the organization. And that is really, it attempts to capture who does something or some task, how the organization is defined, what are the roles, things of that sort. The data on the left-hand side, it attempts to tackle which information is received and delivered, the on the right-hand side, that pillar is basically tackling what is being accomplished, what is being done at the function and application layer. And the products and services at the bottom is dealing with why is something done the way it is. And finally, last but not least, in the middle, the lifeblood of every business is the process itself. When is something done, and how it integrates with these multiple layers that I just discussed. So that is the ARIS methodology in a nutshell. And as you can see, it involves much more than just defining the process. So if we dive in a little bit deeper, you will start to see that in the product and service tree view, it provides the ability to break down products that your business might offer. So in this example, you have a product that is broken down by meat and dairy products. Meat can be broken down further into beef and pork and chicken. Dairy products can be broken down, in accordance with milk and cheese, etc., etc. So this is an example of how you can use ARIS to define your product and service tree and continue to evolve that single source of truth. The function tree is a hierarchical list of all the functions that are associated with a particular process, and it provides an overview of all the activities of a company. So in this example, if a function represents throwing a party, that function is broken down by a number of different activities which involve inviting the guests, preparing a venue, and in terms of what is entailed in inviting guests, you might have to write some cards, you might have to send some cards, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of a breakdown of how you can start to encapsulate and capture the functions that are associated with your process. The organizational chart is a hierarchical list of all organizational units and elements of the company. It provides an overview of the organizational structure. So this is this notion that this is how a particular business unit or a function is broken down. A company might be broken down by finance, HR, marketing and sales, procurement, as well as research and development, and those then are further associated with other sub-functions, if you will. This slide talks about how the most used elements in the organizational chart are organizational unit and position. So the position might represent somebody's job description, such as an HR manager. The role represents a task, such as ARIS trainer. And you also have internal trainer, and it may be an internal person that represents a specific person, such as John Doe, Mary Jane, etc. The data view stands for entity relationship model, and this is really a modeling notation for relational databases, and it's software engineering at its best, coming from a business standpoint. And you are able to, within ARIS, develop entity relationship models, which will then equate into a model and its basic elements, which will then be tied further into the database elements. So an entity relationship model consists of an entity type. This would be a real-world object. The relationship type itself, which would be the logical decision between the two entities, and an attribute. So in this case, a student might have a matriculation number, a first name, and a given name. A book might have an ISBN number, a name, and an author. As you begin to further do a deep dive into building those ERM models, you can see that you have a good repository where you can start to see an interaction between how the business sees an entity relationship model and how that gets boiled and structured into enterprise tables and the relational table. So as I was showing you earlier in a previous slide, you might have a matriculation number, a first name, a name, and a birthday, and this could be the data file or the data record that eventually becomes the backend systems of record or the database table. So the traditional way of doing it was that you would have to sit down maybe with an architect and try to guess what tables might be needed and what entities might be needed in a table, and you'd go back and forth with your database administrator or your data modeler. With ARIS, you have the empowerment to start building that from the get-go and start to envision and evolve that model as it relates to the process model itself. So in terms of event-driven process chains, this is a modeling notation for processes. There are other modeling notations we will talk about a little bit later, but this is a sort of the quasi-standard in business process modeling. And event-driven process chains are a part of the ARIS concept, which was developed by Professor Wilhelm August Scheer in the early 1990s. And ARIS, which, as you know, is an acronym for Architecture of Integrated Information Systems, is the idea to receive a description which covers all the requirements of an information system. So in the EPC model, it is driven by a number of elements. You have functions, you have events, and so each function, an EPC model has to start with a function, which then is followed by an event. So if I am hungry, that is a function, and the event that comes after that is that I eat a meal. And then once I'm completed with that function, the outcome of that function is that I have now satisfied my hunger and I am full. So as you can see, there are rules to following this particular standard. Every EPC starts and ends with an event. Events and functions alternate, and trivial events must not be modeled. Events who only state the termination of a function without adding any useful information is an example there as well. Business process modeling and notation, BPMN, is another standard that is maintained by the OMG group, and I will show you a little bit later in the presentation, how you can start to build a business process model using both EPC as well as BPMN. ARIS, of course, has a wonderful feature which allows you to automatically transfer an EPC into a BPN using their translation framework, which is an extremely useful feature to have. In terms of how ARIS fits in the grand scheme of things, once you start to build your business process model, that's really, if you look at it from an event-driven process chain, that's kind of really your blueprint, and it is more of a high-level conceptual model. A little further down from that is really your solution blueprint. It's a little bit more technical, and in that you can describe business activities and functions as they are occurring based on swim lanes, and you can at that point describe in that modeling notation if this is a system task or if it's a human task, if it's a service task, things of that sort. So that is kind of the next level, and the way you execute that solution blueprint is then you would basically import that into a web methods BPMS, for example, and that would be your business process management and workflow automation runtime engine. So ARIS, in combination with web methods, enables collaboration from business to implementation and execution. As I mentioned and alluded to earlier, ARIS is a one source for all. It has abilities where it can compose, it can discover, it can document the process at a process architecture, and which is really the design layer, and also capture data and organizational entities, which has good integration into other enterprise architecture products that Software AG offers, such as Alphabet. It has the ability to, as I mentioned, model to execute with Web Methods BPMS or Enterprise Service Bus, but also ARIS for SAP solutions, which include Solution Manager and NetWeaver BPM. So as you start to begin your journey with ARIS, or if you're already with ARIS, consider how well positioned your investments in this product are, because it is really on the leading frontier of how it helps you solve business problems and capture pain points and help you alleviate the common operational challenges you face on a daily basis. Okay, I would like to now get into the product itself. I'll show you. Can somebody confirm if you can see my screen okay? Vikas?
That's good.
Depending on what it is that you're trying to do. So if you're trying to do business process modeling and analysis, where you just want to define your business architecture and continuously document and analyze and improve your business process, then that's a function you can pursue there. But there's other things as well, such as process governance and simulation and enterprise architecture management and process driven management for SAP solutions. So in here, because ARIS has one source for all repository, it maintains all assets which are version controlled, and you can define databases for each of your processes. So in this case, I have two databases. One is Praveen, one is United Motor Group. And in the interest of time, what I'd like to show you is what is involved in a typical business process, and why ARIS is more than just a documentation and a process modeling tool. If you take a look at, I already have a car loan application sample. So in here, as I mentioned earlier, you have an event-driven process chain, and this process talks about how what is involved in this process in terms of how you go about obtaining a car loan. And this is car loan America, so you can break it down by different countries, by different states, and there's a lot of information in here, and how the process, the EPC model itself, is then split into a decision. So things like initiating a credit check, and if solvency is sufficient, what happens if it is sufficient, what happens if it's not, what steps do you take in your process, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an example of an EPC process. This is an example of what the same process looks like for Europe in the BPMN standard. So in this case, what you'll notice is, again, you have swim lane. In this case, you have a swim lane view, but again, it's the way the process gets kicked off is you have an event where financing is being prepared. You initiate the credit approval. Check customer solvency. Based on that, you make certain decisions. And you continue down the process until you reach the end of the process, which could be something like updating a database or filing credit documents, things of that sort. So these are examples of what an EPC process looks like in ARIS, what a BPMN process looks like in ARIS. But here's also an example of a chart, an organizational chart, and how your company might be broken up, or how it's divided in terms of functions. United Motor Group might be broken down into an executive board, which then is broken into sales, a bank, car sharing. So that's an example of an organizational chart. Now let's take a look at customer data. Here's an example of what customer data might look like in an entity relationship, where a customer might have a customer ID, customer name, year of birth, customer class, and then might have an N-to-1 relationship, and under the address might have an ID, street, zip code. So as you can see, at this level, you are starting to develop architecture for the data layer, where you're already foreseeing an application that perhaps you're trying to build, where you can start to accommodate this kind of information, what attributes are important in this. And so the handoff that goes over to IT now becomes much more cleaner. This view is a strategic product view. So if you would like to, before you even get into the process, you want to you want to get some visibility into what your products are. In this sample, I have UMG products, which are broken down by automotive, financial services, car rentals, and car sharing. A car might be broken down further into executive car, compact, super mini, and a sports car, et cetera, et cetera. So as you begin to also better understand your product, you can start to develop co-relationships with your process and find out where the pain points are and in what products those are occurring. You can start to incorporate analytics based on the feedback you get on certain products, like maybe a particular car is not doing so well and not selling so well. You can incorporate that into your process and by factoring in analytics. Here's an example of maybe some discount rules you might be able to document. So discount rules might involve the financing discount, customer-specific discounts such as a first-order discount versus an aggregate rebate rule. So that you can really begin to start composing a very nice overall picture in your quest to solve problems from the get-go and have a single source of repository for all of that information. Last but not least, I realize I'm a little bit over time. I apologize. Here's an example of an IT systems view as well, where I can, for example, if I was trying to identify through my sessions with the business and IT stakeholders what processes involves what systems, and how do I map those processes to my systems and applications and services, and what's the CRUD nature. As part of that discussion, I can start to identify the systems themselves, and I could say, well, maybe for the financial services, there's an IBM DB2 component involved, and I can define the properties there. I can define where it's being used. Perhaps for there's a MySQL server or an Oracle server or an SAP database involved in one of these process functions. So I can really start to capture all this information in addition to just what sometimes is perceived as just a process modeling notation. So as you can see, it's a very comprehensive product, and a lot of independent analyst studies and reports have shown that Software AG's ARIS product suite and line of products is a leader in that segment, and does very well to solve a lot of different problems that customers are facing. So when you think about your digital transformation initiatives within your organization, what tools you're looking at, what processes you would like to either speed up or perhaps reduce some cost. ARIS is a great place to start your process modeling, your discovery, as well as your process architecture, which then eventually will give IT also a better handoff, a cleaner handoff. And in instances whereby, for example, with SAP, you have bi-directional support where if there are particular process models there that need to be improved, ARIS can use the open APIs and the APIs with, for example, SAP Solution Manager, 7.2 or what have you, and have bi-directional support rather than simply exporting models and importing models. So there's some really neat features in version 10. I'm going to quickly just also talk about, I know Dibakar already mentioned this, the Software AG Innovation Tour is taking place in both Chicago and Washington, D.C. Kellton Tech is a platinum sponsor. We look forward to seeing you there, asking us more questions. Sometimes it's hard to go through an entire product line in just a half an hour, but hopefully this gives you some insight. I would love to hear more from you as far as what your questions are in the next couple of minutes, and certainly when you come to the event, but wanted to share that. At this point, I would like to conclude my remarks and hand it back to Vikas to see if there are any questions.
Well, thanks, Praveen. Thank you very much for that presentation and also the demo that you have showed us. And audience, thank you very much for joining us today, and apologize for running over time with our schedule. I know with the last working day of the week and the long weekend coming in for the US citizens, most of them are getting prepared. So with time constraint, we might not be able to take up the questions that we have in. We have a couple of questions coming in, but we'll make sure that all these questions have been answered through the email along with the video recording of the session today. Once again, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and let's get connected if you are visiting at the Software AG event. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.